I recently had the chance to play Resident Evil 4 on stream, and as somebody who is quite new to the Resident Evil series and has never played the original, it was a brand new experience for me, which is probably different from many of the more experienced players who did play the original. So now that I've finished the game, it's time to ask, was it worth playing? Now this video is going to be split into two parts. The first part is just going to be my general review of the game, then I'm going to have a bit of a spoiler part where I talk about different parts of the story, and finally I'm going to give you my opinion. If you have any game suggestions or you want to make sure to see my future videos, make sure to do all the good YouTube stuff, subscribe, the bell, you know the drill. But let's jump into it. I have played 2 Resident Evil games before I played Resident Evil 4. I played Resident Evil Village and I played the remake of Resident Evil 2. So I kinda knew what I was getting into. I did also try the remake of Resident Evil 3 and just did not like it. I never managed to finish it because there was just something that didn't feel quite right as I played it. Especially coming straight off the remake of Resident Evil 2, which was just so much fun. But I'm glad to say that Resident Evil 4 really does give me kind of the vibes from Resident Evil 2. It is fun to play, the gunplay is good, the environments are interesting, and I quite enjoyed the story. I found it to be decent enemy variety. They definitely did surprise me several times through the game, which was really fun but also terrifying. And playing the game on normal, I found it not to be too bullet spongy, which was nice. Though at times I feel like I could have done with a higher level difficulty, especially when dealing with some of the bosses. I found especially the final boss to be weaker than expected, and I feel it could do with a little bit of fine-tuning, because through the game I ran across enemies that were probably more scary to fight than the final boss. Even though the final boss took me a bit of time, it was because I was being terrible at aiming, and I feel that I should not have been able to finish the fight as easily as I did with how bad I was doing. So if you're somebody who likes difficulty in your games and challenges, I recommend going above the normal difficulty, because the normal difficulty feels kinda nice for somebody like me who is not the best at first-person shooters and tends to be relatively terrible at aiming and conserving ammo. So if you're more tactically minded and you like making sure you're using the right weapons, conserving your shots, and want a good challenge, go for a higher difficulty than normal. But even then, I did come across some enemies that absolutely terrified me throughout the game, and I enjoyed the different enemies as we got deeper into the story. Some of them were definitely scarier than others, and I have several shorts on my channel of me simply freaking out because of some of the enemies. Now, weapons and guns were quite fun. I believe I tried all variety of guns, though I never really got hang of using the dart shooter. It simply felt off to me, so I quickly discarded it. And my favorite weapon throughout the game was actually my pistol. You do get a chance to upgrade your pistol and even buy new ones throughout the game, which was really nice, as you do meet a merchant that is willing to upgrade your stuff. And one of the things I really liked is when I had upgraded my pistol and there was a new one that was better that I wanted to buy, I could sell it and basically recoup all my costs. So I can use all that money I had saved and put in the other gun to upgrade the new one. It made it much more entertaining to upgrade your weapons, because you didn't have to think about if you were going to get a stronger weapon down the line and if you wanted to save the money for the stronger weapon. I could just upgrade my stuff and have a lot of fun with it. And these upgrades are really handy, and they actually enhance your gameplay. For example, later on you can get some armor, which is going to be really handy. And from the start of the game, you do have a knife which you use for both stealth kills, and also if an enemy grabs onto you, you can use it to stab them. And I like the stabby. Now, with both the armor and the knife though, they deteriorate, so you have to repair them with the merchant. And while you can't really upgrade the armor, the knife you can upgrade. You can upgrade the durability. So early on, I felt like my knife was constantly breaking and I was picking up every butter knife I could find so I could stab people with it. Later on, I could just safely have my own knife. And later on, I realized I could really just start selling off the extra knives I had found, because I wasn't needing them anymore, as my knife really just remained intact until I met the merchant again. At least if I made sure to always repair it when I met him. My all-time favorite weapon in the game though is the pistol that uses the magnum ammo. I did not realize that it was a different type of ammo for that pistol than from my regular pistol. I cannot express the disappointment I had when I realized I was out of ammo and I had sold my regular pistol and I actually had to reload to go back. So pay attention to your ammo types, don't just buy things based on the numbers. And this is the reason why I play on normal, because I do silly stuff like this. Because sometimes I just don't pay enough attention. But the Magnum ammo is amazing. It is the most satisfying gun I have played with, and it was just so nice. And I really wish I could have it like more throughout the game, because there's nothing more fun than just seeing your enemies blow apart. So overall, the gameplay is nice. It is really enjoyable. And with the modern variety of the game, there is also some autosaving. So while you still have to save by finding these typewriters, or when you get to a new chapter, there are moments I noticed that the game did autosave, which was really nice because it saved me a few times. But they still do keep to the original system, and I think is really nice to have. And I actually do think these save systems do add to the tension of the game when you know it's been a while since you saved, and you know you have to get to the next save point because going back is gonna kill you. So you just have to push on, just praying you're gonna find the merchant because there's always a save point beside him. By the later part of the game, I got unreasonably happy by seeing Purple Flame because I knew that meant the merchant was just around the corner. Now I'm gonna talk about the story, which I really did enjoy. So if you liked what I've said so far, you should go play the game before listening to this part, if you want to play it at least without any spoilers. But now, let's talk about the story. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Having played Resident Evil 2 before playing this one was really good because I knew the main character and I also knew Ada when she showed up. And now the idea of going in to save Ashley was nice. I had a clear objective of finding the girl. I feel the game had a really strong start with the first house you enter, with the enemy kind of surprising you, which was really intense. But overall, the village area was not my favorite. I had the same issue when playing Resident Evil Village. There's just something about the village full of crazy people that just doesn't really do it for me. Like, it's spooky and it can be a little bit intense, but I have noticed through the series, my favorite places tend to be these open areas where I can backtrack through easily. I didn't feel like there was any good one like that in this game, but my favorite places in the series so far have been the police station from Resident Evil 2 and Castle Domitresk in Resident Evil Village, both because of the visuals of the place, but also how long you kind of stayed there and you started to know the area as you backtracked around to find items. But as the game kind of constantly leads you on, I didn't really feel like I got these moments until I started getting into the laboratories. And even then it was very minimal. But the village and the church was a really nice start to the game. Even though it wasn't my favorite, it was a really good introduction to the cult and the symbol of the cult and their beliefs and Sadler and everything. So you could kind of see how unhinged everything had gotten. Now the lake terrified me because I just don't like deep, dark waters with monsters in them, but it was a really fun sequence as a first major boss fight. And then the first big boss fight against the village leader, it was really good. It kind of set the tone for later parts of the game, and it was a good way to close out the village story as we moved on into the castle. And out of all of the areas, I think I enjoyed the visuals of the castle the most. It was just so opulent, and we were starting to get to know the infection at this point. We had found Ashley, and we had found Louis, which was just my favorite character, I think, through the game. He was just such a treat to have. Though Ashley was also lovely and was not really annoying as a companion you had to protect. Though at times, she did bother me, but she's far from the worst companion I've had to kind of guide through the game. But I really enjoyed the castle because of Salazar. Because that man was just so extreme. And I loved that he kept on kind of calling you through the PA system of the castle, talking to you and mocking you as we went on. And then the final fight against him was really intense and fun. This is also the part of the game where you kind of get to know most of the lore and understand the infection that's going on. This is where we got to see the hive. This is where we got to learn about Las Plagas. it was a really interesting time to play through, especially as you could see Ashley deteriorating and you knew this was going to happen to Leon eventually as well. I was a little bit confused when we got to the mines part, where we had to go on the railway cart with Lewis. It was unexpected, really fun, but definitely unexpected. And then Lewis's death right after was really heartbreaking. Even though we did not spend that much time with Lewis in the game, there was just something so charming about his personality that I felt he really lost something big. And it was sad to see him go. I kind of wanted to be able to save him, though I did have the feeling I wouldn't be able to. But his story arc through the game was really neat, from the point where we find him and I thought it was Ashley for a second, and instead I just found this super sassy umbrella scientist that just was so funny and brought a lot of levity to the game, which was really nice. To having just this sad goodbye, knowing he kind of just wanted to fix things. And even to the end, being able to save yourself and Ashley because of his key and his direction and how to do it. Throughout the game, I found Sadler's powers to be kind of interesting, especially how he could stop everybody and kind of control them, which was really nice. They showed his power really well with the moments where Leon is actually reaching out to Ashley and you see him stop and you can see him struggling, but he can't move because Las Plagas is stopping him. And just generally Sadler's design is really disturbing, and being able to see messages from previous Sadlers, like written in stone here and there, shows that this island has been weird for a long time, but with the addition of Las Plagas and Umbrella coming in, it just really made things so much worse. I did like reading about some of the Umbrella experiments, especially the guys that just keep on regenerating. And if you find the text about it in-game, I thought it was hilarious. The guy went just like, oh yeah, I made a thing that constantly regenerates. This is like my best creation. And then the thing obviously turned hostile, and it turns out he didn't just make one of them, he made like a lot of them. And it's just a whole mess every time you meet them, and then they upgrade with the spikes. But I think throughout the game, the scariest enemy was the Las Plagas itself, is these things that kind of burst out of the corpses of a few of the enemies. They kind of resemble like spiders, scorpions. It is the symbol for the church, but it's also the thing that is inside Leon and Ashley, and you can actually see it as Ashley is, like the corruption is taken out. You can see the thing is growing inside of it. It's just still small. But that's what it's gonna become eventually, and if she dies, it's just gonna burst out to try to find a new host, which is horrifying. And then like walking on the walls and everything, just ugh. It was a very well-made enemy, which I absolutely hated through the entire game, and I dreaded every time they showed up. Now, as somebody who doesn't know the series too well, I was a little bit confused about the ending, mostly about where Ada is taking the sample. But overall, I felt the story rounded up really nicely. It didn't feel like it left a lot of loose ends, and I came out of the game really satisfied. Seeing Ashley and Leon kind of go into the sunset was really nice. And knowing that the island is going to blow up, and technically that should like sort everything out, but also knowing that Ada has that sample of amber with Las Plagas in it. It's just a nice ending. Because you know, like this thing is so bad, but this thing is also still out there. Las Plagas isn't dead. Ada has it. And she is taking it somewhere at the end of the game. Now, on to the final score. Was the game worth playing? Yes. I really enjoyed it, and I believe I'm gonna play it again in the future. I want to go in and see if I can get a better grade. I ended with a B. I would like to get an A. Though I know you can get like up to S+, which I don't know how to get. That is something that sounds just intensely difficult to me, but if you can get that, I am super impressed. And when it comes to recommending the game, I would say if you like games like Dead Space, this might definitely be something for you. It's not as intense as Dead Space, but it kind of gave me the same feeling when working with the different ammo and conservation of ammunition. If you like survival horror games, this might definitely be up your alley, and if you like the Resident Evil series, then definitely give this a go. I am still curious what people think about it if they played the original. So if you actually played Resident Evil 4, the original version, and have also tried out the remake, tell me about it in the comments. Like, what did you think? Did you enjoy it? Were there a lot of changes? Let's talk about it. But for now, I hope you have a lovely day.